Hello, I am Tejaswini LP. Now I explain Module 2, that is Elastic Properties of Materials. This module has got three chapters: elasticity, second one bending of beams, and third one torsional pendulum. First chapter will take elasticity. Under this chapter, you are going to study concept of elasticity, plasticity, stress, strain, tensile stress, shear stress, compressive stress, strain hardening, and strain softening, failure or fatigue. Hooke's law, different elastic moduli, Poisson's ratio, expression for Young's modulus, bulk modulus, rigidity modulus in terms of alpha and beta, and relation between y, n, and k. Also, limits of Poisson's ratio. Now I'll take introduction part of this chapter. When the shape of a body has been altered by the application of a force, there is usually some tendency for the body to recover its original shape or size on the removal of the force. This property of a body is called elasticity. So we can define elasticity. It is given here. It is a property of a body to regain its original shape and size after the removal of deforming forces. Under the action of external force, the body changes its form. Form means size, shape, etc. because the molecules inside it are displaced from their previous positions. While they are displaced, the molecules develop a tendency to come back to their original positions because of intermolecular binding forces. This tendency of molecules leads to balancing force called restoring force. Now we'll define stress by using restoring force. The restoring force per unit area is called as stress. That definition is given here. This restoring force is equal in magnitude but opposite in direction to the applied force. If F is the force applied and A is area of cross section of the body, then we can write according to the definition of stress as stress is equal to F by A. Unit of force is Newton, unit of area is meter square. So according to the formula of stress, we can write unit of stress as Newton per meter square, or it is a Pascal. The deformation produced by the external force leads to change in dimension. So we can define strain as the ratio of change in dimension of a body to the original dimension. So strain is equal to change in dimension by original dimension. Dimension means we can take length, breadth, thickness, etc. So denominator and numerator has got the same unit. So strain has no units or dimensions. Now we'll take types of stresses and strains. There are three types of stresses and strains. First one, tensile stress or longitudinal stress. Second, compressive stress or volume stress or pressure stress. Third, shear stress or tangential stress. Then types of strains, linear strain or tensile strain or longitudinal strain, volume strain, shear strain. Now we'll take one by one. Tensile stress or longitudinal stress. Consider a body of length L, and that body is fixed to one end. This is that rigid support. Length is shown here, and another end of body is free. When force is applied downward, its length changes to x. It is given here. So applied force is called as a stretching force. So stretching force acting per unit area of the section of the solid along its length is called as a tensile stress. So longitudinal stress or tensile stress, we can write that as a F by A. And unit of longitudinal stress is a Newton per meter square, because unit of F is Newton, unit of area is meter square. This tensile stress which is applied on this body leads to linear strain or tensile strain. It is defined as the ratio of change in length to original length of the body. Change in length of the body is x, already shown in the diagram, and original length is L. So linear strain we can write as equal to x by L, and it has no unit. Second one, compressive stress or volume stress or pressure stress. When the deforming force is applied normally and uniformly to the entire surface of a body, it produces a volume strain, and it is defined as is the uniform pressure acting normally all over the body, or force per unit area acting normally all over the body. Original volume is V, capital letter V, and change in volume is a small letter v. And these are the forces, uniform forces acting on the body shown here. This compressive stress leads to volume strain. So it is a ratio of change in volume to original volume. So volume strain can be written as V by V. It has no unit. Third one will take shear stress or tangential stress. Consider a rectangular solid cube whose lower face DCRS, which is shown here, DCRS is fixed, and to whose upper face is a tangential force F is applied in the direction as shown in the diagram. See, this is a applied tangential force. Under the action of this force, the layers of the cube which are parallel to the applied force slide one over the other, such that the point A shifts to A dash. A shifts to A dash. B shifts to B dash. Similarly, P shifts to P dash. Q shifts to Q dash. That is, the planes of these two faces ABCD and PQRS can be said to have turned through an angle theta. See, that angle is shown here, these two angles. This angle theta is called as angle of shear or shearing strain. Shearing angle itself is a measure of shear strain. So we can define shear stress as a tangential force acting per unit area on the surface of the body. So tangential stress or shear stress is equal to F by A, where F is a tangential force, A is a area, and unit of this tangential stress is Newton per meter square. So shear stress leads to shear strain. It is defined as the ratio of change in dimension to original dimension. So shear angle itself is the measure of shear strain, that is equal to theta. So theta is equal to x by L. It has no unit. Unit of x we can take that as meter. Unit of L we can take that as meter. So meter we can cancel. No unit for shear strain. So three types of stress and three types of strain you have studied. Now we'll take one relation, that is the relation between stress and strain. The relationship between stress and strain is explained by Robert Hooke in 17th century. It states that stress is directly proportional to strain within the elastic limit. So stress is directly proportional to strain. We can write here. Remove that proportionality, put one constant. That constant is E. And E is called modulus of elasticity or elastic constant, which is characteristic property of the material. Now I'll go for next concept, stress strain diagram. If we plot a graph between stress and strain, we get a curve as shown here, and it is called stress strain diagram. In this diagram, strain is taken along x-axis and stress is taken along y-axis. And here OP is the portion of linearity. OP is shown here. It is the portion of linearity where stress is directly proportional to strain. And Hooke's law is valid. So P is called as a proportional limit. The body continues to exhibit perfect elastic property up to the point Q. This is that point Q, which is called as yield point or elastic limit. Up to point Q, the body will show elastic property. As soon as the elastic limit is crossed, that is from Q, the strain increases more rapidly than stress and the body does not come back to its original shape or size after the removal of deforming force. It is represented at any point between Q and S. So this region is called as a plastic range. So plastic behavior starts from R and plastic range is shown from R to S. If the applied force is removed now, the curve traverses the dashed line and material is said to be permanent set. See, if we remove that stress, what happens? Instead of going through this curve will go in a dashed line here. And material is said to be permanent set. The deformation is called as plastic deformation because material does not regain its original shape and size. Now I'll take up X. X is the limit up to which material stay fit and it is called as ultimate strength. At S, next point is S. At S, the deformation becomes large and the body splits into two or more pieces and is called fracture point. This point is called as fracture point. This is a property of a material, how stress and strain varies. It is shown here. The region between Q and X, this is that region and it is called as a strain hardening region, and region between X and S, it is called as strain softening region. You are going to study further. Same explanation what I have given now, it is shown here: proportional limit, yield point, plastic range, permanent set, ultimate strength and fracture point. Strain hardening. Consider a material which is deformed beyond its yield point P and it is in the plastic range. This is that material. When the deforming force is removed, the material shows a plastic strain OT is equal to epsilon, like this, which is called as permanent set. Now, the deformed material is subjected to increase in stress again and new stress strain curve is plotted. Second new stress strain curve is this. This is that. The material shows increase in yield point U. So yield point of first stage is here and yield point of second stage here. We can see increase in yield point. This shows that a plastically deformed specimen has a higher yield point which is called strain hardening. We can define strain hardening as strain hardening is the process of strengthening of a metal by plastic deformation. The strengthening occurs because of dislocation moments and dislocation generation within the crystal structure of the material. The materials that are physically deformed earlier or stressed again show up increased yield point. Now I'll take up what is the reason for strain hardening. As the deformation of material occurs in the material of the plastic region, the dislocation of the material increases. The dislocation interaction is repulsive in nature. As the dislocation density increases, further deformation of the material becomes difficult. This is called work hardening or strain hardening. Strain softening. It is the region in which stress in the material is decreasing with an increase in strain. So consider this stress strain curve. This is the yield point region. Consider this region. In this region, what happens to strain? Strain increases but stress decreases. And that region is called as a strain softening region. This is observed in certain materials after yielding point. This is that yielding point. After yielding point, we can see that as represented in this diagram. In this region, stress-strain curve have negative slope which indicates softening effect of the material, which is a phenomenon typically observed in damaged quasi-brittle materials including fiber reinforced composites and concrete. Now I'll go for next concept, that is a perfectly elastic body. Perfectly elastic body is a body which regains its original shape, size or volume completely soon after the removal of the deforming force. There are no bodies in nature which are perfectly elastic. Materials which are close to the definition of perfectly elastic body are given below. So we can take elastomers. Example, first one, elastomers are polymers with high elastic nature. Example for elastomers, natural rubber, synthetic rubber, nitrile rubber. Then steel. Steel is also one perfectly elastic body which and more elastic than rubber. Phosphor bronze alloy. It is also example for perfectly elastic body. Then quartz fibers. Next concept, plastic body. Which body is called as plastic body? Is a body which retains its deformed shape and size after the removal of deforming force. For example, putty, wax, etc. What is the reason for plasticity? Major cause of plasticity is due to slip of crystal planes. Slip of crystal planes. Whole section of the crystal gets shifted with respect to the other permanently. Most of the plastic materials are synthetic. So we'll take two types of synthetic plastic materials. First one, thermoplastics. Thermoplastics can be used, melted and recast again and again. It is reversible in process. For example, nylon, polystyrene, etc. Second one, thermosetting plastics. These plastics can be melted and molded only once. It is irreversible process. Example, bakelite, resins, etc. Now we'll go for next concept, that is effect of continuous stress and temperature on elasticity. Due to continuous stress and high temperature, material undergoes deformation continuously and this process is called as creep. Creep is a property due to which material under stress undergoes deformation continuously and it is slow plastic deformation below proportional limit. Proportional limit means where Hooke's law is obeyed. This creep is due to slip of crystal planes. Creep leads to fracture in the material. Tin, lead and their alloys undergo creep at room temperature. Creep is an important factor to be considered in the design of boilers, turbines, jet engines, etc. Now I'll take second one, effect of annealing on elasticity. It is a process to make a metal or an alloy or a glass soft by heating and then cooling slowly. Type of heat treatment used to alter the physical and mechanical properties of a metals or alloys. It is one type. It improves the elasticity and increases ductility. and it increases the strength, hardness and toughness of the material. Now I'll go for effect of impurities on elasticity. Addition of impurities to metals results in either increase or decrease of elasticity. Depends on the type of impurity added. So type of impurity may increase or decrease elastic property of a material. If the impurity resists the motion of dislocations in the lattice, it increases the elasticity. If it favors the motion of dislocations in it, decreases the elasticity. For example, carbon is added to molten iron to increase the elasticity of iron. Now I'll go for next concept, failure, fracture or fatigue. Any change in the size, shape or material properties of a structure or machine parts that renders it incapable of satisfactorily performing function is called mechanical failure. Machines are stressed repeatedly due to continuous use, which creates cracks. Along with stress, other variables such as corrosion, temperature, overload, etc. affect the condition of fatigue. This fatigue or fracture, we can take two types. First one, brittle fracture. Brittle fracture is due to rapid propagation of crack. Brittle material suffers fracture almost at the elastic limit. It is important. And ductile fracture. Second one is ductile fracture. It occurs due to slow propagation of crack. It suffers fracture after ultimate strength. So last concept in today's class, importance of elasticity in engineering application. Nature of stress strain curve plays important role in the field of engineering. Already I have studied that. Study of elastic properties of various materials and search for new materials is essential for the better development of various engineering and scientific fields, which include mechanical, civil, electronics, aeronautical and aerospace, etc. Pure metals are soft and ductile, have low tensile strength, hence they are rarely used for engineering applications. Alloys are generally harder than pure metals and offer better elastic properties, hence they are useful for engineering applications. So instead of using pure metals, we use alloys.